Hey, before I pull the cards for each sign today, I wanted to take a minute and talk about some of the general energies going on just with all of us. I really enjoy astrology and playing with the transits and explaining some of that just as a fun way to broaden your horizons and relate. I find astrology to be fun in terms of certain transits that are happening. I mean, this stuff goes on all the time. It doesn't like start and stop. It's just the cosmos are always moving. So there are new relationships between the planets and the stars and, in different signs. That's happening all the time. And I find it fun to zone in on a couple every now and then that seem to be really prominent or that will bring up very specific things so that maybe we can see that in our own life just as a way to like provide some inner peace and to make sense out of chaos. Like I at least in my world, that makes me feel better when I can like compartmentalize and make sense of things. And astrology is really fun for that. And it's so broad and it's so deep that it's a never-ending path, of kind of wonder and interest and intrigue sometimes. But given the state of things right now and the high anxiety and trauma levels that we're all kind of experiencing, it seems frivolous to me to cherry pick which things to talk about. So, what I thought may be better as a source of what I'm trying to do with my channel is just inspiring and relating and forming connections and trying to add something positive. It seems to me that maybe kind of sharing some things that I do when life seems very chaotic could possibly inspire someone else or be helpful. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And then I will get to the cards. And this is really brief, I promise. Individually, we are humans. Like we are individuals walking on this planet, but also we are a collective. And you can add in animals and plants and inanimate objects to that also. But from a human standpoint, the human collective, we emit a certain amount of energy, right? We're always moving and we are putting out into the world energy. Some people can call it like you walk around with your aura, in different colors and things, but it doesn't matter. You walk around and you interact with the environment around you. There's no other way, even when you're just sitting in your house, your absence in the world around you is felt to some degree. And it's very nuanced, and most of us, we know about our moods and we know when we're crabby and we know when traffic is chaotic. We know all that. But sometimes, like right now, this era is a very tense, very worrisome era where there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of agitation, and our nervous systems get on overload sometimes. And so even when things aren't happening to us directly, we are constantly being bombarded with the news of that or people that are close to us experiencing it. Our empathy levels are huge and we're wide open to that. So we absorb a lot of this negative energy also, even if it's not happening to us directly. So our mood can change and the energy that we're just giving off naturally can change based on what's happening in other parts of the world, in other parts of our county, in other states. It doesn't really matter. It's what's being put in. Kind of like kind of like polluting the atmosphere. But these negative things aren't necessarily pollution. It's just life, right? There's this balance, the yin yang of what we feel like is positive and what we feel like is negative and what makes us happy and what makes us hurt. All of those are kind of a balance. And so when some major things happen and we're all aware of them and we're all feeling badly about them or we're all angry, and that is being pumped into our life as a collective. So, and it gets just ratcheted up within us. So it's not that those problems don't exist, and it's not that we can't do tangible things to help, like send money to causes and go volunteer. Those things are helpful. But what do you do when this is on the daily, like the 24/7 cycle of just, this barrage of things that are painful and hurtful and aggravating? So one thing that I try to keep in mind, and again, this is just me, human to human, expressing how I tend to deal with some of this, because I have a tendency that if if I do try to get super invested, or if I'm not conscious of my own boundaries, I can become just a madwoman. Like it, I just lose all sense of grounding. So I have learned to implement practices, and now they're habits. It's not that much. I don't have to think about it. That remind me that my energy is really important. Like, yes, I can be helpful to those around me, but the simplest way that I can help is to regulate and monitor the kind of energy that I'm putting out. And that requires a lot of self discipline and self introspection. And I just kind of happen to have developed a lot of that. And I'm still wrong a lot of the times. And I still don't do it right. But at least I am trying. And I'm aware that my energy matters to the collective. So, certain things, when life gets really heavy, is I focus on what I am putting out. Because every individual that can put out positive in times of great negativity helps to balance that energy out. And it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't solve the problems of other people. What it does is it balances the collective. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. At 5 o'clock, rush hour traffic is awful, right? And a lot of people have worked a long day. They are anxious to get home. They're all getting home just based on our own work schedules. That is a time when a lot of people are trying to navigate one road system. And it's really easy in that crowded, tense, tired environment to get short with people, or to try to rush, or to try to run through a light. It's so easy to let that anxiety and that energy in our nervous system kind of take over. And if I ever have to go out during that time, I mean, I'm fortunate enough that most of the time, since I work from home, I may only have to be out on the road, once a week at 5 o'clock, not 5 days a week. So what I have to do is be conscious of knowing that I'm walking, or I'm driving into an environment that is very tense. And what I can do is bring a calmness, at least in my car, in my vehicle, in my mindset, that I am not going to do that. I am not going to yell at people. I'm going to exercise as much patience as I can and bring my tiny little vehicle of calm and order to an already very crowded system. And it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't stop anybody else from feeling anxious and driving through a life. But what it does is my little space on that roadway is going to be calm and orderly. And maybe that's not always the best thing, because it doesn't feel very energetic at that level. But you certainly know it walking into a store, walking around your neighborhood. It doesn't we know the moods of the people around us. And when there is calm, when there is cooperation, when there is a smile, when there is something positive, that's adding to the collective. And that does help balance. Now, that's why I feel like the power of prayer is one of the greatest things, because when you take a larger group of people all putting goodwill intentions toward something, how can that not help? How can that not balance or help balance some of the negative? And it helps calm us down too. When you are orderly, and when you take a minute and breathe deeply, you are settling your own nervous system. So you are helping yourself as a collective, but as an individual, but you are also helping the collective. And so it's almost in these times when things are really out of whack and things are really sad and fearful and worrisome, it is very helpful to remain in control of your own emotions and choose to put something good. And I don't mean to sound like a Pollyanna, like, well, my smile is going to really change somebody else's day. That's not what I'm saying. It's something you can't see. It's that energetic field that we often we lean on it when we need it, but sometimes we dismiss it as not being important, and it's very important. We don't see radio waves but they exist and they transmit information. Satellites worked on that. There's always energy being transmitted, even if we can't see it. And I get kind of passionate about this because I really work with this in my own life. And I have certain things, if I'm feeling very worried about something, when I make dinner, I light a candle because that flame to me represents a kind of energy that is enduring. And it is also focuses my attention. It's something out of the ordinary. So if I light a candle, then that's constantly like in my peripheral, and it reminds me. It's much the same as like tying a string around your finger or your wrist or something as a reminder. But it's also warmth and it's passion, and so that helps me remember that. There's something really calming about that to me. But it's my awareness. I it changes the mood. I think that's why I work with glass so much. It's one of those mediums that changes the mood of a whole space. And I just love it for that. But it is trite to say being kind and within your own space, within your own neighborhood, picking up a piece of garbage. It does sound trite to say that that can solve problems. And I'm not saying it solves them. I'm saying it helps to try to balance out some energy that's very negative. So it's almost like you can be your own personal little positivity pump without it being that toxic positivity. I don't mean go out and be fake. I mean be kind. Be kind to yourself, be kind to your surroundings. In times of stress like this, it's very helpful to clean up your space. While in the process of cleaning, it's really frequent that we can purge things that we don't need, right? And who knows, if we donate those, maybe those items can go to someone who can use them. That kind of thing is helpful, but even just the act of straightening up your own space is calming. It calms you down. And that energy of calm is emitted out into the collective. And again, I'm not anyone's keeper in terms of telling them what to do. I'm just telling you what I do. And my own immediate little aura, if you want to call it, is really highly charged most of the time. Anyone that actually really knows me in person knows that I'm kind of a high strung, like passionate individual. And so I get really ramped up pretty easily. And so I'm always like doing calming things, but in terms of just what you can do when things seem to get out of control and your own anxiety, we don't even know sometimes that our anxiety is, up a notch. Have you ever just suddenly, you could just be sitting there watching TV and suddenly realize that, your shoulders feel like they're in your ears? You're just so tense and you don't even know it. And so the act of being conscious of your own energy that you're putting out, and you don't have to do anything. It's more about being aware and bringing that sense of control into your own emotional space and your own psychological space. That alone is doing something. And that's why I feel like even though there are really bad things going on in the world, I feel okay about sitting here and making little funny candy corns out of glass to give, for Halloween, or to make this video. That's why I think it's okay, because my intention is to help. And I'm trying to find my place in this world where I can do that. That feels good to me, that feels good to my soul. And I don't always get it right, but I just keep trying. And I think that's all that we can do, in the moment, is that try. So I hope that helps. That was just my little spiel. It is a rough world out there. And certainly my thoughts have been with so many different people that I do know, that I don't know. And all I know how to do is continue to work within the space I am and put the best energy out that I can. I'll be there for the people that I can help directly and send my good energy, the best I can muster, to those that I cannot help directly. So we are all in this together, and I think it's really important to remember that sometimes, that you matter, your energy matters, and that is really your only responsibility is managing your own energy that way. So with all that said, I hope this finds you well. And October does bring with it some levity. We have Halloween at the end of the month, and today I have chosen to use a trick-or-treat deck. It's fun. The illustrations, they look very cartoony. Everyone in it is in a Halloween costume, and it's super enjoyable to read from, but it's also a well done deck in terms of like the messages that come through and what it's depicting. So I'm going to start with Aries, and I will be doing the spreads a little. I'm not going to pull just one card. I'm going to pull a situation card, a card that crosses it. That is very typical in tarot to have a crossing card. So it's a situation, and then the crossing card is what is helping or hindering that situation, like what is beefing it up or detracting from it. And then I'll pull a card of advice for each sign, and then an oracle card from a deck called the Raven's Prophecy Tarot. It's another really beautiful deck, and I think it suits me better as an oracle deck than a tarot deck. So I hope you find something here that is helpful. One last thing is remember to check not just your sun sign. Your sun sign is your typical zodiac sign, but your moon sign and your rising sign could be very helpful also. All three of those energies within your birth chart, they're powerful. And so when I'm reading for a collective reading like this, of course I can't pinpoint directly your situation, but I'm hoping, I mean, enough of us are going through similar things that a lot of the readers use the zodiac signs as a way to tell different stories, because we all have all the signs in our chart somewhere. So if you want more information about that, you can email me. My email is in the comments. But you should be able to get a free birth chart online. It's not something you should have to pay for. You just have to know the time, the place, and of course, your birthday. You enter it in to a free place. A report is generated. It tells you where all these sun, the moon, Venus, Mercury, where all those were in the sky the minute you were born. So it's super helpful. It's a really cool personality profile type thing. The most accurate that I've ever seen. It's just incredibly nuanced and a little tricky to figure out. So hopefully we'll explore a little of that as I kind of get rolling with this channel. It's slow growth right now, but I just have a lot on my plate, and I've got some other pressing projects, but I did want to get this started this year. So, okay, on to the readings. Aries. The cards I pulled for Aries are a situation that you may or may not be dealing with. And when I shuffled the cards, the Three of Pentacles came out, but it did come out sideways, which I don't always do that. But this one, it's just a thing. If it feels like it should come out sideways, then I'm going to take it. And it did. Let me explain the Three of Pentacles here really quickly. This is a card of building something solid. Starting from the ground up kind of thing, but what you're building is solid. The Pentacle suit has to do with money and resources and long-lasting three-dimensional things. So the three here, it's often a card of cooperation, whether it is like an apprenticeship where you're getting help from other people or people are coming together to build something. With it coming out sideways, it made me think that you may be struggling in some way to get something off the ground. Or if you had wanted to start something new, maybe you've been looking at what somebody else has been doing and you want to give it a go. Something to that effect. It may be, you may have some struggle right now. What's crossing that is the Knight of Cups. And all the knights are action-oriented energies in their respective suit. So the Knight of Cups is action in the realm of the emotions. And when I say emotions, it doesn't mean that you're gonna, you're sitting there crying, or it's coming from a friendship, coming from a loving place, some kind of loving gesture. Hey, do you want a hand with that? It could be that you are either dealing with a project where you are seeing people struggle and you are the Knight of Cups offering to help, or it could be that this Knight of Cups approaches you. That And it may be quite unexpected, actually. And the reason I say that is because the people on the card all look very busy. It's by the light of the moon, and they are working diligently. They may not even see that there is an offer of help around. It could be that the Knight of Cups is a water sign energy, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. The Knight of Cups can be anyone. That there could be help there. And again, this could be you offering a gesture of friendship or assistance, or it could be someone in your environment. So that's an energy to kind of watch out for. A result of this situation could be the Ten of Swords. And this is usually the most painful card in the whole tarot. And I'm sorry for the glare, both on my glasses and the cards. I am working in my office and some different things. My lighting's all messed up and I cannot, for the life of me, do this without my glasses. So the Ten of Swords, though, as a possible good outcome, it seems weird to say something so painful, a painful ending, would be a good outcome. But what I feel like with this card is I welcome the sight of the Ten of Swords. No one wants to see a painful outcome, but we do want to see an outcome. And if a situation has been painful, it's better to have it end. So it's kind of one of those things where the sword suit represents the communications and the way we talk. So I don't know if this is going to be a back and forth or a situation that required quite a bit of communication or information that repeatedly has felt bad. Usually it's a card of betrayal. I'm not really sure I'm feeling the betrayal here today. I feel like, just like what the card shows, have you ever been to the doctor and they had to draw blood and they couldn't get it the first time? So you get sticked so many times. Did I just say sticked? There, before they can actually hit a vein. It's that kind of thing where finally a situation is done and it's been painful. So to me, I don't think that's so bad. And clarifying that even shows me that, because what's clarifying this ending is the Fool card. The Fool card is the Aries energy. So I like this. It may be a new beginning for you, but the Fool card is the very first card in the tarot. And this represents new beginnings. Something brand new, hasn't been done before. It's a fresh, I want to say adventurous thing, but it's a clean new start. So it could be that if you were struggling to get something off the ground, someone might come in with some advice, and that actually may, it hurts our pride a little. We may not want to hear a better way. We may want to do it our way, but whatever that is, could like solve a problem that has been plaguing you, and you get a fresh new beginning because of it. So I really love this. I think it's a great reading. I wouldn't be worried about anything. I would just be open, stay open to, outside help, or if you're that person, the Raven's Prophecy Oracle card as advice is the Queen of Swords. This card is a pretty good card regardless. The Queen energies are all kind of nurturing and careful and loving, very maternal energy in each suit. So the Queen of Swords is very discerning. That is one of her trademarks. She is very clear and decisive. So she also has a lot of experience behind her. So she doesn't take decisions lightly. She's speaking from experience. And so generally you can trust the Queen of Swords. She's making decisions out of wisdom and protectfulness, but very discerning energy. What I like about this particular card as advice is any decision that you make could have a ripple effect. I like the ripple, right? Cutting through the emotions of a situation, like pride, like expectation, like disappointment, cutting through emotions of something and making a firm, logical decision, and it will have a ripple effect. So I think it does kind of match the energy of what the cards pulled here. Overall, I think it's really great. And if this does play out, I would love to hear about it. So don't hesitate to shoot me an email or reply below or something. Okay. All right, Taurus. The card I pulled for you was the Nine of Pentacles, and it did come out in reverse. And the Nine of Pentacles upright is a card of independence, especially financially or in the material realm somewhere where you're not dependent on somebody else's resources, that you have everything you need. Doesn't necessarily mean that you live alone. It just means that you're not really wanting for anything. You have the things, you're capable of maintaining your own life, and there is usually a feeling of abundance, at least from a personal standpoint with this. This isn't like generational money. This is having what you need and being pretty content and knowing that you can take care of your needs that way. There's some success associated with this card sometimes. Of your own making. And I like it for that. When it's in reverse, it's not feeling that way. It really is one of the opposite feelings. Not every reversal is an opposite, but this one, it is not feeling like you have enough. You can't take care of yourself. Maybe it's something where you have more bills than you have money coming in, or you are really, say your car broke down and you don't have a way to get to work. It's that it's a lack of not being able to manage your own life in some way, in some capacity, typically in the pentacle realm, the money, material resources, that kind of thing. What's crossing this, helping or hurting, and the word autonomy just came to mind with that 9. So you're not feeling like you're in control of your own life in some way. Could be at work because it is a pentacle card. It could be about your money. Like I said, I'm leaning heavily toward that. But what's crossing that is the Two of Wands. Now, the Two of Wands is an action card. It's also a choice. Twos are always at the beginning of a new cycle. We're going to have to do something different. But what do we do? And the wands represent two different actions that you could take. In this deck, where she's dressed up like a zombie, there are brains on the wands. So it kind of makes me think that you could have a couple of like these choices could kind of like both appear to be logical to you. I'm struggling with how to say this because it's an overthinking energy to me. Like maybe you are giving too much thought to, going in circles with this choice. What do? You don't have enough. You're not independent in some way. So which choice do you go? When choose, do you, I want to say do something the old way or change it up. Could be something along the lines of, if you have to get a second job, or if you have to cut down expenses, if you have to try to move a roommate in, that you could have choices and you might be just kind of not sure which one to make. That is coming out of that situation potentially. Now, a likely outcome here is the Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups is not necessarily a great feeling card, but it's generally pretty positive. What it is, it's walking away from something, and it's something of an emotional nature that you're walking away from because it's a Cups card. So this is walking away from some past or some situation. And this card I love. Is one of the more complicated cards of the tarot deck to me. It's stable. It's going toward even more stability, but the nature of this card is understanding your past relationships, your past emotions around a topic, and getting closure on them. You're not doing things anymore based on something that happened to you in the past or based on a relationship from the past. There's no open-ended questions here. You have your closure. You understand your past. If I did that before, I know why I did it. And I'm a different person now, but I do at least understand it. So I always kind of use this card as like your emotional baggage card, getting in check. You're walking away from past emotional problems and you're seeking out something much more fulfilling. People like you. This could be friends or people that you used to know, groups you used to associate with, old lessons, old, I'm losing my words here, the ways of being, you know, things that your parents and your grandparents thought was the right thing and you bought into that. No, this is understanding all of it. And knowing what is right for you is not found in the past. And so it could be walking away from friend groups. It could be walking away from just social things that I say social because they're cups, and that is our emotions. We typically feel emotional connections with other people. And so, but it's leaving the past. That it's very basic. It's knowing why, reconciling past emotional things and moving on to something that matches you better. So in this light, with there's a lot to say right here, but the Eight of Cups is walking away, and clarifying is the Emperor. This complicates the reading for me a little bit, and I'm going to backtrack here in a second, because the Emperor energy is the big boss. It is authority. It could be your literal boss. It could be an Aries or a Taurus individual. If it's Taurus, you walking away may set a certain kind of example. And do you see, well, you don't because my finger's on it, the dog in the bottom corner of the Emperor card? There could be a loyal following that when you set a certain example to leave the past behind, other people do too. Like the old way, you know, when you get it together, other people are going to follow you, because the Emperor is leadership and authority, and you can see that they're leading the charge. And the dog is just catching my attention. So I think that is a loyalty indicator that, you know, you're not going to necessarily be left behind. Now, you could be acting out of a sense of loyalty, leaving a particular group to be loyal to something. That could be also. And if it's not that, if it's more of a work thing, then that Emperor doesn't necessarily have to be you. It could be you leaving behind a certain kind of authority. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person. That doesn't work for me anymore. I'm my own authority. That would really go well with that Nine of Pentacles in reverse. This could be the case of somebody leaving the job to start their own business, or, you know, going against the grain of what always has been in some way. So I hope that in some way that resonates with you, but it does make me want to say there is this card that could mean you're really tired of being single. If this is more of a love reading and you haven't had someone in a long time, this is a card of not wanting to be single anymore. And you might not know what to do about it, right? Do I get online? Do I try to meet people other ways? This is definitely talking about look at your past, get closure to maybe what you feel badly about, why certain breakups happened, who were you in those old relationships. So often we continue to beat ourselves up over old relationships. But when you really understand the context of that and who you were in the moment and why you made the choices you did and what you got out of that situation, that's closure. And you're no longer operating from that influence. Once you make sense of it, you know better, and you know who you are now and how it fits into your picture. So now you are making a more present decision, and it could revolve around another authority figure or an Aries or a Taurus, or this could be you just leveling up to make better decisions. Because this can be Taurus energy, I'm saying that it could be that you're bossing up in your own life and you're going after what you want. Now, the advice is the Knight of Swords. This card doesn't, it's got a mixed bag kind of feel to it to me today. I think it's probably the blood on it that's doing it. But again, this is kind of you know, a spooky deck too. So, but the Knight of Swords is all about communication. It's action-oriented communication. So it's speaking your piece, telling somebody something, reaching out, sending an email. It's speaking your mind. The thing that makes this card a little bit rough, especially when I'm doing a general reading because I don't know the specific situation we're talking about, is it can be harsh, and sometimes it's not necessary. Like, we all need this energy a little bit. The blood on the card is implying that you've cut through emotions of some kind. So it's saying something, it's taking a hard look at yourself. It is cutting, your words can cut deep if you are speaking to someone else. Um, Recognizing truth and owning it and speaking it and behaving in a new way can actually hurt your ego a little, can be hard to hear. So in terms of this is, I want to say a couple of things. Advice wise, speak what you want. If you don't want to be single anymore, you need to do something about it and put that out there. You need to talk to people. You need to communicate with people, meet new people. If this is a raise that you want at work or you're not happy in the workplace, you need to speak your truth in order to get anywhere. So advice wise, this is a very action oriented card about standing up for yourself verbally, like saying what you want. Now, it may come out harsher than you think. So I think this advice has a tinge of be careful how you say it. Try to say it in the most, I don't want to say the kindest way, because sometimes we don't need to be, ooshy gooshy about stuff. But I would say don't be unnecessarily harsh with that, if that is what this is pertaining to at all. But it is, be clear. The Knight of Swords speaks his mind clearly, and that is the energy. So you may need to speak up about something. It may be kind of harsh, but I do think you will have people that are loyal to you will follow you regardless, and those that don't weren't meant to stay anyway. So I hope that helps. Interesting read. Hi, Gemini. For your cards, I have pulled a situation you might encounter in October is the Two of Cups in reverse. Let me show you the card upright here. The Two of Cups is generally seen as the partnership card. It could be a love relationship that you're dealing with. It doesn't have to be love, though. I mean, in terms of romantic love, it can be a work relationship, someone that you consider your equal. The nature of this card is that two people are bringing an equal emotional cup to the table. So it's often seen as someone that is your equal in some regard. It's usually in the emotional realm, but I have seen this before in work and things like that. So with the Two of Cups in reverse, this is not seeing eye to eye. There is an inequality here of some kind, or it could be like a choice even that you don't know how to bring balance to this particular partnership, and something is out of unequal or out of balance about it, though. You're not on the same page with someone. They're not bringing the same thing you are, or you're not bringing what they are, but there's just something off here in a partnership of some kind. And what's crossing that is the Judgment card. The Judgment card to me is one of the heaviest hitting cards of the tarot deck, okay? It is a very weighty energy. It's very close to the end of the tarot. It's right before the World card. And it has to do with resurrection of some kind, but it is exactly what it talks about. It's judgment. It's, it could be, here she's trying to like bring up the past, right? We're trying to make a final ruling on the past. So it did come out reversed, even though it was the crossing card, so it's sideways. It did come out in the reverse, which is generally just a big fat no. I mean, it's a judgment no. It's some kind of judgment call that you're making about a partnership that is a no. Now, it could be that someone is making this in partnership to you. But what I felt like when I looked at the card itself was that the angel here is trying to get someone's attention, and it's not working. So this can be a wake-up call kind of energy, but the light is there. She's playing the flute or the horn there, and the plant is responding. But it's almost like I feel like You or someone else, someone could be trying to get your attention, or you could be trying to get their attention. It's not working. This is a no. So in a partnership, there's something, it could be something from the past that is coming back up in October, but it was a partnership that that didn't work. So, and I don't know if you are trying to resurrect something with somebody that it just didn't work before, or it could be vice versa. But you've got this energy of something. I think it's familiar to you. With the Judgment, it's a path you've already walked down, and I don't know if you want it to be resurrected, or if this other person that you're dealing with does. Now, a likely outcome is the Two of Wands in reverse, and we did see this card already in one of the other readings. The Two of Wands upright is about making a choice to act. Like, what do I do now? Like, what action do I take now? When it's in reverse, though, it's not choosing. Twos are always choices, and when they're reversed, that for some reason you're not making a choice. Here, I'm noticing the brains again, the brains on this card. She is a zombie, right? And so I don't know if you are not, if you're too in your emotions, or there's something here. Geminis are known for their intellect, for their knowledge base, and they are able to convey information. Geminis are great teachers because they have information and they have this ability to articulate it. And so they make good teachers generally. And here it's like your brain isn't engaged. Like you don't know, there's something about the intellect or the communication that is missing, and you don't know what to do. There's no choice. There's no action being taken because it's either too emotional, or you don't have the words for it, or you don't have enough knowledge for it, or something like that, where you're not able to utilize your mind the way you normally would. And what's clarifying that card is the Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords is generally truth. It's information. It's, hard-hitting truth. It's clarity. And there's just a lack of it here. So I don't know if there's information that you don't have, so you can't act because you don't know. I don't know if it's that you're afraid of the truth. You're really in an emotional state right now, and you're of two minds about something, but you don't know how to navigate that. It's like it's out of your realm of experience. Your Gemini tends to be that energy is very logic based and knowledge based, and maybe you're either afraid of the truth, you're afraid of the clarity, or you don't have the clarity or the truth to be able to act. So the advice card here it made a lot of sense to me. I can see this two ways though. The Emperor card came up as the advice, and the Emperor is the divine masculine energy of the deck. Now, I don't subscribe to like the twin flame kind of thing, but divine masculine energy is all four kings put together. Each king has his specialty, right? He's a master of restraint in his special area. Emotions, logic and communication, action and leadership, or, love and, or pentacles and money. This Emperor is everything. Like, it's a very mature individual. It's typically somebody over the age of 50 if we're talking about a real person that you should defer to. Or you could be, it's just someone who has a lot of wisdom and experience in all those four areas of life. So, and it's weird because that sword that is here in the reverse is here in the rock. And so I don't know if this is a passing of the torch kind of energy. I don't know if you need to defer to a leadership or an authority figure that knows more than you do. That could be the case. Or I don't know if you need to step up and be a leader. Like, where the information is, and maybe you have not been acting on logic. Maybe you haven't been utilizing the truth and the knowledge that you normally would. And so the advice would be to pull the sword out, do the right thing for all involved. The emperor is never just looking out for himself. He is smart enough and wise enough to know that when the people in his kingdom are happy, he's happy. And so this is like the ultimate leadership and authority. This is either you, and this is the advice, is to do this. Whereas maybe you have been slacking off, or maybe you've been in a position that you really weren't doing that, and it's now time to step up. Or if you really don't know the answer and you don't have the clarity, this is deferring to someone who does. So I hope that helps in some way. It seems very interesting to me. I really don't know, on the off chance, I'm not quite sure why I'm getting the hanging it up. I think maybe because the crown is on the sword here. And this came out, none of these cards are reversed, so this wouldn't come out upside down. But this may be in deferring leadership to someone else. Like, I don't know. Because the only reason I'm saying that is twos are a little bit of a power struggle, right? There's an inequality here. And so when you're not seeing eye to eye with someone, it can result in some kind of power struggle. And there is a judgment here that is a no-go. And so it's almost like someone has to concede and step up. Somebody concedes and someone steps up to be the leader. And I'm not sure if you have the capacity or the want to be that. So there might be some concession involved in this, but at the end of the day, the 4 is a very stable energy, and it could just be lean into your own authority. So I would be very curious about that one. These are great reads this time. So, okay, Cancer. The card I pulled for Cancer is the 8 of Wands in reverse. And this is actually a pretty straightforward reading if it matches your situation at all. Upright, the 8 of Wands usually indicates some kind of quickness, like quick communication, quick travel, things like that. Things that move fast, like a lot of information coming in or a lot of back and forth on something. When it's reverse, it's typically, to me, a card of either not traveling somewhere, which I don't really see that, or not responding. Somebody not responding to you, you not responding back. There is a block of some kind in communication where that information is not going back and forth. So it's pretty straightforward that way. What's crossing that is the 6 of Cups. I love this one. The 6 of Cups is typically a card of children or nostalgia, things from your past that typically will make you feel good. In this case, we've got the Joker there, so I don't really know. It didn't come out reversed, so I can't say it's negative feelings from the past, but it may have to do with your children or someone that you've known for a long time, or something about your past. That information is just not coming through. Communication's not happening. There is a kind of a wall there of lack of communicating, lack of travel with someone from your past, or a child, or a sibling, that kind of thing. The likely outcome here is the Queen of Wands in reverse. This is kind of an interesting card. Number one, it's beautiful. But when it's in reverse, the Queen of Wands is not able to lead. She's not able to create, make something happen. And no matter what she tries, usually she's got a lot of charisma. She has a lot of charm. She's got a little magic to her. She's a leader, and people tend to follow her and watch her. And when it's in reverse, it's not there. It's could be, or someone unable to get something done or communicate properly or something. Could be a Leo, Aries, Sagittarius female that you're dealing with. But again, when these court cards come up in reverse, it doesn't have to be those signs at all. It can be anyone. The other meaning of this card, though, that I'm leaning toward because of the red in the card is the Queen of Wands reverse is an angry individual. It's where rage can take over. So you have all that charisma, and if you turn it upside down, that same amount of passion comes out in a negative way. So it can be very pent up and frustrated. There could be a very frustrated energy here that you may be feeling if it's you that is unable to get information through. And the clarifying card for the Queen of Wands in reverse is the Hanged Man energy. And this is basically about waiting for more enlightenment. There's something else that you need to know, or something that you need to see from a different perspective before the energies can move on. The hangman energy isn't necessarily bad. It can be kind of a scapegoat energy, but it's the inability to move forward before you get more information, or it's someone generally strung up and they're hanging upside down, and that indicates a need for a change in perspective. Now, it also, because it's a major arcana and we've not seen a lot of those in the reading so far, it could possibly on the outside indicate a March time frame, late February into mid-March, because the hangman is Pisces energy. So there's something here about needing more information. It may or may not happen right away. Typically, I wouldn't say you would have to wait till March for that. But again, because I haven't seen a lot of major arcanas, there is a chance that you could be waiting for something to happen, but it will not come through. The information you need won't come through until February or March. Now, what I'm noticing is the phone. I'm pretty sure that is a phone on his cape. Maybe there's something that you're watching for. If you're waiting for a text back from someone, you can't do anything. You might have a really frustrated action, or the inability to get something accomplished or do what you want to do until something comes through, and it very well could be on your phone. So keep an eye out for that. The advice card is the Six of Cups. I'm sorry, the Six of Swords. I said cups because this particular deck, the art involved in it kind of switches some stuff up. And I don't really know why the artist chose to do this. I haven't researched this deck that much. I haven't worked with it that much yet. But the water in the hands really is indicative of emotions to me. But swords represents our thoughts and the way we communicate. Now, the typical meaning of the Six of Swords is moving on from it's like turmoil. It could be an argument, because what's just prior to the six is the five. And the Five of Swords is an argument. Whether or not it's a mental argument, like back and forth with yourself or with someone else, this is the card after it where we're moving on. Nothing is really fixed. In the Six of Swords, we haven't solved the problem. What we're doing is moving on from the argument of it. We're trying to get to smoother waters. Here, this is like holding. I just keep hearing you have to, the advice would be to hold space for someone after an argument. Okay, after conflict of some kind, containing the emotion of it so that you can move on mentally, to make better decisions, to get life going again. You may not have had time to process the emotion yet, and that's kind of what might take a little bit of time. But we can certainly contain it and move our mental state forward. So the advice here is just kind of move on from some kind of conflict, try to get to calmer territory. There'll be time to process that emotion. If water is emotion, she's holding it. We're not letting it go, but we can process that later. We need to get to a calmer environment, though, mentally. So straightforward. I don't know where you fall in that. It definitely could have to do with a child or something from the past. And yeah, I'm curious about that one too. So if this relates at all, definitely email me or drop a comment. Okay, Leo. You have a very interesting read. The card I pulled of energy that you could expect possibly in October is the Six of Swords in reverse. And we just had that in the Cancer reading. The Six of Swords was upright as advice. So again, let me go into what the card means. The Six of Swords is moving on after an argument or some kind of conflict. Now, swords are thoughts and communications. So it's usually fighting with yourself over something or an actual argument with someone else. And when we move out of the 5 into the 6, nothing is really fixed, right? Where we load up the boat and we move on into calmer water, but we take all of that residual stuff with us. It's just getting to a calmer place. Now, in this card, this is kind of a genius card because I mean, for being so cartoony, I'm so taken sometimes with how smart the creators of these decks are. We have Death here, and he's showing the way, right, of the characters in the boat, right? How do we get to calmer water? Well, in order to do that, you have to pass death, and death is transformation. Something has to end so that we can transform into something else. And isn't that the nature of coming out of an argument and getting something settled? Usually something has to change. There has to be some kind of compromise, solution, something like that has to come up, and it will generally require some change. The problem is, to change, you have to go through that tunnel, and that has a very frightening image on it. So often it's something that we're afraid of, that kind of change, right? It's not the most pleasant. We don't always want to change, but that's what's required to get out of the conflict that we're in. Now, when this is in reverse, like it came up for you, this is circling right before you get to death. It's like right before you get to that tunnel, you're just going to stay in that spot. You're just going to keep swirling around, and it's this mental like loop that you go in because you're afraid of what's on the other side. So it's being caught in your head and thinking something over and over and over and over instead of processing that change that needs to happen after that conflict. So it's just being caught in that loop in your head. That's where you might find yourself. What's crossing it, and when I say crossing again, I mean what's helping or hurting the situation. In a weird sometimes way. I mean, we could be describing the situation, but here we have the King of Swords in the what's crossing. The King of Swords is incredibly logical, insightful, and decisive. He isn't ruling. He doesn't say things with emotion. He isn't acting on emotion. He acts through logic and truth, the right thing, according to like common law and common tradition, what is known to be the rules. He's a real rule follower, a stickler for doing things the right way. So you could be caught in your head somehow about the right way forward. How do you tell somebody the truth? How do you make a decision? It could be that you're dealing with a King of Swords, and that would be an Aries, a Gemini, Libra, or an Aquarius, masculine energy more than likely. But we all adopt the masculine and feminine energies from time to time. So this reading could be saying that you need to step into the King of Swords energy and be decisive. It could be a lawyer. He is kind of an official rule guy. It could be a doctor, someone that's very knowledgeable, that knows the facts, knows the science, and can make that call. It could be someone in your environment that you are either in your head about, or that is somehow encouraging you how to get out of your head. So maybe you're stuck in your head about a decision, or maybe you're stuck in your head about this individual. Now, the likely outcome here is the Knight of Swords in reverse. Again, this is one of those cards that when it's in reverse, it has two meanings. I don't know exactly which one here, but I'm going to make a pretty good guess based on the clarifying card. This Knight of Swords, when it's in the upright, the Knight of Swords is all about communicating. We saw it in the other deck, I believe. This is sending information, giving information, announcing something. It's usually pretty quick. It can be kind of reckless. Like if we're really sharp, our words can be very sharp because it's coming so fast. We're not thinking. When it's in reverse, it's either not saying anything, right? It's keeping mum, not passing along information, not announcing something, or it's so harsh. This is the sharp card. This is where our smart mouth, our mean mouth, our our emotions take over our ability to communicate, and everything has an edge. So it's either, it's the extreme. You're either not going to say something or something won't be said here in October, or you're going to say it really harshly. And remember, this is like coming out of trying to get out of your head. Now, the clarification card is the Three of Wands. So what this tells me is you're probably not going to say anything at least until the full moon. Now, the full moon happens, I think, on the 17th for October. It's the Hunter's moon. And so for this middle part of October, maybe you're just going to sit back and watch. The Three of Wands is a card of expectation. It's keeping an eye on what's coming next. And there is a sense of expectation. And this can go two ways as an outcome. Because of what I had in these other cards, you could be, if you make a decision or if you say something, you can expect an argument. You can expect like somebody to come back at you in a really harsh fashion. Maybe that's why you're in your head about it. Like nobody wants to deliver news that's going to make somebody else mad. But that's kind of the vibe here. Or you have this thing that you need to make a decision on, or you have a person that you're in your head about, and you've decided to sit back and wait, at least for the time being. You're not going to say something. You're just going to keep an eye on the situation. His eye's actually on his cheek. That's funny in this deck. But so it could go either way. And again, if this were a personal reading, and I was reading for you directly and we were dealing with a very specific situation, there wouldn't be any, I wouldn't have like options for what this could be. But this is a collective reading. I'm reading for a whole bunch of people, hopefully. And it could go a couple of different ways because of the story. So the story here is either you have something that you need to say or make a decision on, and you know it could cause somebody else, you could expect a fight. Or you're just not going to say anything and just keep an eye on the situation for a minute. Now, the advice card is, thankfully, no swords. We have a lot of swords in this reading. A lot of overthinking. A lot of things that need to be said. Could have to do with truth. I don't have big cards of truth here, except this king. Most of the time, I like to see the King of Swords with the sword upright, right? That means the communication, the truth, the clarity is out there. No, he's holding it. He's holding it down. So I don't know if you know the right thing to do, but you're not doing it yet because you think it'll cause a fight. It's that kind of thing. You're not saying something yet because you know it might cause an uproar. But the advice is the Ace of Coins. Now, aces are all opportunities that are generally presented to you from an outside source. You have the opportunity to take it or not. And I don't know with this advice if this is telling you to offer an opportunity to someone else, or to definitely consider this opportunity that I think would make you really happy. I'm really noticing the contrast of the moon and then the sun in this card. And the sun is the Leo energy. So I think there's an opportunity. Look for an opportunity that makes you happy. Possibly this is what you're mulling over, and focus potentially on the idea that it is going to make you happy, or looking for solutions that will make you happy. But usually the Ace of Coins is a new opportunity in the resource realm, a new job, a new home, anything resource driven, like money or tangible items. A vacation would fall into that probably. But the thing is, this is, as advice, this is be open. Be open to those opportunities. Look for opportunities that will make you happy. All right? Keep an eye out for that. And if it makes you happy, I mean, I don't want to overstep and say go for it. But the Ace of Coins in advice is always about potential, right? Seeing the potential in something. Okay, well, that kind of clears it up. Talk about it. We have the Knight of Swords again. So you may have had a new job opportunity, a new opportunity to go do something. You may want something new. You might want a new outfit and you're afraid to tell your husband, or you're afraid to ask your boss for a new, position, something like that. And the advice here is to get that rooted. You're going to have to find a way to talk about it, I think. So I hope that helps. Okay, Virgo, I have to laugh just a little bit. Please don't get angry, but you have the most Virgo reading ever. I am partial to Virgo energy. I don't have hardly any of it ever in my chart anywhere, but I'm surrounded by them and I love this energy. But this reading is the most Virgo reading ever. Now, the great thing about your reading is I do think it's fairly short-lived. So please know that going in, that I would expect some of this to dissipate after the full moon. And I think I said this before, the full moon is on October 17th. But the card I pulled for you is the Hermit card. And this is your card. This is the Virgo card of the tarot deck. And it typically has to do with isolation. And it's not always, most of the time, it's like retreat from like the social scene, or, kind of holding up in your own space where you feel comfortable. But the thing is, it can also be really quite psychological. The Hermit energy is all about like isolating from other people's opinions and the cultural opinions that are out there. It's really soul searching, and you usually have to either be metaphorically alone or like quite literally alone to do some of that, to hear yourself think and to figure out your priorities, what's important to you, what you want. In almost every Hermit card, he's up at the top of the house there, throwing candy down, like he doesn't want to be in the fray. But he's typically holding a lantern, and inside that lantern is a star, and that correlates to the star card in the tarot. The things that are, it represents healing us individually as people. It has to do with the thing that we really, really want for ourselves. It's the big wish card of the deck. So the Hermit uses that light of what he really wants as a lantern and as to show him the way, right? And he needs to focus on that. So Hermit energy it could be about something that happened in Virgo season, which just happened in September. But it's also about just isolating. And I don't know if this is literal in terms of you staying in, whereas normally you would go out a lot more, or just pulling in. I'm sorry, this street sweeper is going by and it's super loud in my office here. Anyway, this is the energy for October for you, and I would say at least for the first 2/3 of October. What's crossing that is the Nine of Swords here, and this is the anxiety card of the deck. So again, I kind of laugh a little and I empathize, but this is very, very typical of sometimes what happens with Virgo energy, is that it is a thinking card. It's being caught inside yourself and isolated, but also a lot of nightmarish scenarios, a lot of worst case scenario thinking. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? This is where a lot of doubt creeps up. Now, I'm not saying Virgo energy in the light of day is all anxiety. But at night, when your mind is still active, sure, things, that's where the monsters come out from under the bed. And those things become like wanting to fix bad things before they ever happen. It's always looking for solutions to the worst case scenario. And that is anxiety. That is being on guard. That's mentally always being on. And that is an energy that you could definitely experience in October. That anxiety could cause you to isolate. Now, this could be speaking very directly to a type of social anxiety, or approaching someone that you have wanted to approach, or it could have to do with anything where you're pulling back out of doubt and fear and some kind of insecurity. Now, a likely outcome here is the Moon card, and I wish I could say this is going to feel better. I doubt it will. I think the spread here, there's always like kind of a an underlying reason why cards come out. So I think the point of this spread is to give you a heads up that you're not going to have any clear answers for whatever this one particular thing is, at least right now, and that is okay. The moon card is typically, to me, Cancer energy. It doesn't have to be Cancer, but it is a very emotional card. It is our emotional body, like, enlarged. I mean, it's like when moon energy is out, our emotions are heightened. But the idea with the moon is that when the moon's out, we can see somewhat on a full moon, right? If you've ever walked outside, but it's very shadowy. You can make things out, but you don't see the details. You don't see like the real truth of something. And the figurative aspect of this is that when our emotions are heightened, we might not be seeing the situation really clearly. And again, this deck, it just throws me with its genius sometimes. Sticking with the Halloween theme here, the bobbing apples are red and green, and people that are colorblind can't distinguish that. So that lack of being able to discern the reality is exactly what moon energy is on an emotional level. So this outcome is really, I think, meant to remind you to embrace it. Look how warm she is. And if you notice, one of the dogs is black and one of the dogs is white. So the outcome here is maybe, if you're going to spend time in your head, which the clarifying card is that Six of Swords reverse card, which we keep getting. This is the third time, where you're caught mentally in your head space and going in a loop, right? Loop. I think here you may master the idea is if you're going to be in your head, instead of it being all nightmare scenario and anxiety, see, the moon is going to encourage you to see both sides. See the positive side of not knowing. Just because we don't have a clear answer to something, you don't have to run worst case scenario. You can also spend time, if you're already going to be in your head, run best case scenario. Do you see that fan or the hat? It kind of resembles the sun a little bit. So during this very emotional time, you may actually master this thing of controlling your mind a little bit by seeing the positive potentials as well as the negative. And I like that. I like it a lot. I think it definitely, you might catch yourself even. I'm not sure what is going to set you off on that path, but there may be an individual in your environment that helps you that way. Even just being aware of it, something simple as like a reading like this could help inspire you about the positives as well as the negatives. So instead of thinking, oh, that will never work, that will never work, that will never work, what if it worked? Like, if you're going to be in your head anyway, take some time, think about the best case scenario. And I think you'll do that. This isn't advice. This is the likely outcome. So yay for you, because this is no good for anybody. It's scary and nobody needs to sit in that. I really, really like this idea. If you're not going to have the solid answer to something and your emotions are going to take over, let in some of those good ones too, because there could be really wonderful things happening or potentially waiting for you also. And that, again, is balance. And I like it. Now, the advice in terms of how do we get there, right? How do you get to that kind of energy is the Four of Swords. And this may look like, and look at me, look at my face in that reflection. The lighting in my office is just really whack right now, so I'm sorry about that. But the Four of Swords, it looks like a card that isn't very good, but actually it is. That hand right there is the Magician's hand, and the tattoos on it represent all of the elements, because the Magician has everything he needs. He has all of the suits at his disposal, so he's capable, right? He can make something happen. And the Magician is very action-oriented energy, while the Four of Swords is taking that Magician's hand and saying rest. The Four of Swords is a mental rest card. So the advice for October for you is to rest your mind. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean take a nap, because we know what happens to Virgos in October when they go to sleep: nightmares. What this means is give yourself a break from all the doing, from having to be so capable, from having to solve all the problems. Give your mind a break. What you're trying to do with this card is, like, I like the word siesta better than maybe a nap, right? Give yourself a little bit of a time to play. What doesn't feel like work to your mind, right? Where is inspiration? Because what you're trying to do is build inspiration in for the positives. So how do we do that? Through play, through things that make us happy, through things that feel like vacation to our brain. And that's not always sleep. When you sleep, your subconscious takes over, and we don't control that, at least not consciously. So, play. So I like this. Normally, I wouldn't say that the Four of Swords is about action at all, but it's a mental rest card. And I happen to think, with what I see here on the table, what might help you is things that you might consider frivolous otherwise, but indulge in fantasy. Indulge in exercise that feels like play, picking up a basketball or something that feels like play, because your mind needs that. That's how you rest it when the anxiety is really ratcheted up. You don't want to go into an unconscious state knowing that, you're just going to worry and have nightmares. So do something for your mind that, makes it feel like it's on vacation. And whatever that is to you. In some cases, it might be a nap. But you're trying to disengage from having to do or be capable all the time or solve all the problems, at least a little bit. So definitely rest your mind. And I like that. That is that frivolous energy that your mind could really use right now. So I hope that helps. It may be great energy to dress up for Halloween. That in anything like that doesn't feel like work. That doesn't feel like trying to plan and solve. Just go with it. Like, have a good time. Let your mind have a good time in October. And I think it could do you a world of good. So I hope that helps. Okay, Libra. Your cards, I wouldn't be surprised if there are Libras out there that are dealing with Leos, because Leos had some of the same cards, and I'm only pulling a few for each sign, so when they overlap, I think there might be a connection, which makes a lot of sense because we do interact with people all the time. And it wouldn't be surprising if some of these same circumstances are showing up for people in various perspectives. So 2 cards came out when I pulled the situation. And that is the Queen of Wands, which could easily be a Leo energy. That's a fire sign female. And the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. Now, we've had this Queen of Wands in reverse come out before. And this is that frustrated energy. It could be someone really angry. Or just the frustration of not being able to get something off the ground, to not be able to lead, to not be able to create magic and make something. Paired with the Ace of Pentacles in reverse, it's almost like someone not being able to get something new off the ground, or to be able to take advantage of an opportunity right now, and not being able to realize the potential in something even. So this is the energy that you, or if you are dealing with someone else, they could be experiencing. And the reason I say I don't know if it's you or not is because the crossing card was the 3 of Wands. And that is the watching, that expectation card, watching what's going to happen. So this could be you watching somebody else get really frustrated about a lack of a new beginning, to be really honest. If this is you, you could be really frustrated at the lack of a new beginning. Or somebody could be, I hate to say it like this, but you could be certainly have the expectation, or the frustration could come from an expectation. Maybe you feel like somebody outside of you has this expectation, or your own. You know, when we start something, we automatically set up what we hope it will look like. And I'm talking so much here. Let me try to say it like this. If you wanted to pick up a new hobby, say you wanted to learn how to play tennis or pickleball or something, your inability to get it, or if you wanted more court time than what is available, there's a lack of opportunity for you to actually master this, and your expectation is that by October you'd already be a master of it. Or you want to try to paint something and you have this expectation in your mind of what it's going to look like, and you can't get there, and it's very frustrating because you really want to paint as a hobby. So it could be something like that. You could be watching somebody else go through it. On the outside chance, what I feel like this is, there could be this expectation that someone is going to be so angry, you're not going to have a chance to meet up with them or to start something new with them. Now, I don't know, there are no cards around here about what that could be. Like, I don't have a lot of communication cards here, but I just see a great deal of frustrated energy, no new beginning, and a failed expectation almost. Like these expectations are there, but they're not being met, and that is leading to this frustration, whether or not it's you or you're dealing with someone that it is. Now, the likely outcome here is an interesting one, and I don't really know quite how it fits specific, but the Four of Pentacles is usually a card of holding on to the money you've got, saving money. If you're working on something else, it's keeping it to yourself, holding on to, being very resourceful. When it's in reverse, which I love this is a great card. That's him. He's sitting on his pumpkins, right? You're just sitting on the what you've got, right? Being very careful, very conscious of your resources. When it's in reverse, it is a miser energy. It's clinging so tightly and keeping something so much to yourself that nothing gets through. Like, this is clenching energy. It's an exaggerated form of saving your money. Okay. And so it's keeping something to yourself in a very tight way. And if it lasts, it's actually kind of unhealthy. But if it's information, which I don't think it is, only because it's the pumpkins or the coin suit, but given the clarifying card, we have the Four of Pentacles is being clarified by the Two of Cups. Now, this is a partnership. So you might be keeping a partnership to yourself. You may be keeping something from a partner. But regardless, that partnership card is a Romeo and Juliet energy, and they're ducked behind a tree. Now, normally the Two of Cups is not all that secretive. These two together give off a very secretive vibe. And knowing what I just said about that Four of Pentacles, you can see where those two people look like they're sneaking like behind a tree. Trees also represent family. So I don't know if you're keeping something from your family, and you're sitting tight to your resources, and maybe you don't want your family to know, or you're trying to get something going and you don't want anyone to find out about it. That's the likely outcome here, though, is you might have a partner in crime, but there's something that you're really keeping to yourself or between one other person. Okay. Now, the advice is the Five of Swords, and I think this is a terribly interesting piece of advice. This is the argument card of the deck. This is that it can be mental, but it could be a verbal argument, but as advice, it kind of changes meanings because of where it's placed in the spread. So as advice, it can mean a couple of things. Obviously, in this card, it's saying let go, right? It is a card of being easy on yourself. If you've really been fighting yourself, we're pretty mean to ourselves sometimes. And with that expectation card, we could beat up on ourselves if something is not coming through for us. Advice is to take it easy on yourself and, let go of the need to be perfect, let go of what you perceive to be failures. But it also means be aware of the consequences. So, and I say that because of the secretive vibe. If you're doing something that would cause an argument, know that there are consequences to that. And you want to be aware. The normal Rider-Waite 5 of Swords has a guy on it that is very, very smug, and 2 other people that are wounded walking away from him. So there are, I would say, it's difficult to tell because the 2 piles are a little bit different here, but you want to make life easy for yourself. So you don't want that internal battle. So be very aware of the consequences of what you say and what you do during the month of October. That's how I would kind of term it. Is you want, rarely is arguing with someone else or doing something to somebody else good or kind to yourself. So it all kind of wraps up into the same, but depending on which situation we're talking about here is, be easy on yourself and be aware of the consequences of the words that you say, the words that you don't say, the way that you say them, and your actions, that kind of thing. So I hope this helps. It was kind of a little bit difficult. It didn't. Okay, I just heard like keeping secrets. So I don't know if you're aware of somebody else's struggle and you may be keeping that a secret. There may be consequences that you're not aware of. So just think through things, certainly around any kind of argument. So I hope that helps. Hi, Scorpio. Your cards are interesting. Also, this has been the best set of readings. I'm really enjoying this. The card I pulled for you is the Moon card, and this again is energy that has come up. We are really swimming in a lot of the same energies here. The Moon card can be Cancer energy, but doesn't have to be. It's generally associated with the water signs, though. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, which is you. It has to do with not seeing things clearly, things being a very emotional, foggy nature. And I am not getting the same vibe I got with this card when I got it with Virgo. I think you're more accustomed to this energy, whereas Virgos sometimes get very analytical and worst case scenario thinking and problem solving and practical. And I think Scorpio energy is a little more adept with the emotional fogginess of stuff. And so I don't really see the need to say, what I did in Virgo's reading about seeing the good and the bad. I just think this is more of, I feel like presentation, and I don't really know why, like presenting something. It could be an idea, right? And how good something could look. It's like a proposal. That's the word I was trying to get to, which is really strange because that's really specific. That's not necessarily a moon thing, but I feel like that. Like the details are hazy, but it could be around the full moon, of course, anytime a moon comes up in the reading. But it's sort of like a proposal, working with the idea of something is what I kind of get. Now, the crossing card is the 8 of Wands, and this has another moon energy. So we're definitely talking mid-October, but with it being the 8, I immediately thought of August. So I don't know if you tossed around an idea back in August that is now beginning to come to fruition and you're maybe pulling a proposal together. It feels that way, that we're going to present something. Now, this is back and forth energy. This is travel also. So I don't know if you were had the idea of a get together and let's travel here, but there's more information coming in about it in October, like some real planning, some real details. But this is definitely back and forth kind of energy here. Now, the outcome is the 3 of Cups in reverse. It's weird. This card can mean a couple of different things. And in some ways, I'm not feeling any of them. The 3 of Cups in reverse is not getting back together with someone, not attending a party. Upright, this card, they're celebrating. they're coming together with their cup of emotion, and it's a feel-good thing. It's generally very celebratory. In love reading, it can represent like a third party, like a cheating scenario, but it's much more of a get together kind of energy. Birthday parties, meeting up with your friends, it's a celebration kind of thing. And the cups can certainly mean drinks, but it's a nice energy. With this being in the outcome and it being in reversed, it feels like it should be kind of negative, like, right, we're not going to get together, we're not reconnecting with someone. But the clarification card really kind of turned it on its head. It's the Three of Pentacles. So the Three of Cups is reversed. The Three of Pentacles is clarifying it. And all of a sudden this becomes really positive, I feel like. Like it's more of the energy of we're not doing the talk thing, right? It's not emotional anymore. We're making it real. The Three of Pentacles is building something real. So we go from, oh, we should do this. We should get together. We could build a nightclub. We could do this. To all of a sudden, we're not just talking anymore. We're doing it. Like this is something tangible. This is something solid. And I like this energy. I like it a lot. So it's almost like we move from all talk to, no, we're doing this. Like, and again, getting details, mapping it out. It still might be somewhat under construction. I don't know why. This would be the equivalent of like building a website, right? And putting up one of those landing pages that says coming soon, because you see how they're building, and it's nighttime, but they're under the scarecrow, and scarecrows are meant as decoys. So there could be something here about enacting a plan, but also doing it behind some guise of some kind. And like plans could be shaping up. All right. Now, the advice is the Lovers card. The Lovers is definitely, in one way to read it, it is definitely a partnership card. It's the major arcana partnership card. And it can indicate a love relationship, right? However, do you see how those antlers are intertwined? The Lovers card, the larger archetypal image or the meaning here is when we make choices. Believe it or not, the Lovers card is a choice card. And it is that feel of you are who you hang around. When you intertwine your life with other people or a company, you become that. Your energy kind of merges, and opinions can be like that. Reputations can be like that. So the choice it looks like a choice to like work with someone. The Lover's energy is Gemini energy. You may or may not be dealing with a Gemini here that either offers to help, offers to work together, is going to build this thing with you. And it could be something like that. But there is a choice involved to intertwine your energy, your plans with something else. And it does look like we are either, this is strange, okay? I don't know where this is coming from. You might have had some idea or proposal, and it might have had like working with one particular person in mind or one particular group, and somehow that might change where you're not necessarily going to reconnect here with this group. There's something about this card today that feels very catty to me. And in some cases, it can be kind of a gossip card. I mean, look at it. They do. They look like they're drinking, talking about people. There could be something to this, maybe leaving a group that is very gossipy and instead going, there are people really building something. And maybe you're wanting to get very serious about who you're going to work with or who you're going to choose to be around based on what they're producing. Here we don't have good things being produced, and there may be no need to go back to that. You really want to build something solid. And maybe you're not finding it in this particular group. Now that's really specific, so I don't know if that will really hit like for everybody, but it's there because mainly this card. Who you choose to be around matters. Like who you choose to build with matters. And you're really taking that part seriously, I feel like. And I would expect a lot of communication. Maybe you're trying to vet someone. You know, this would be kind of a case of like if you were going to hire somebody, you want to hire someone that you can work with. It's that kind of thing. So anyway, super interesting. Okay, Sagittarius. Looking at your cards, they're all minor arcana, so I would expect that none of this energy that I'm reading right now is going to be necessarily anything that is super impactful on your month of October. Doesn't mean that you don't have big things happening in October. It means I'm not picking up on it. Your reading is really pleasant, and I want to give you some reassurance with this reading, so I hope you take it in that spirit. The card I pulled for you is that Six of Swords card. This keeps coming up too. It's so uncanny. There are 78 cards in the tarot deck, and I keep pulling the same few. But the Six of Swords here is about moving on into calmer territory after some kind of argument or battle, right? And sometimes, as I've said, that battle can be mental, but it is moving on into calmer territory. Now, immediately what I thought of with your spread here is the need to go through a transition, right? You do have to pass the death character there, and then you go into that it looks like a mountain, right? You go into that tunnel, but we don't know what's on the other side of that door. So it's the unknown because you're moving through a transition. I like it that you're coming out of a difficult conflict of some kind. And again, I don't know if it's with somebody else or just with yourself, but I like this. The Six is smoother sailing that you can expect because that's where you're at, is you're really ready. I want to say like to level up. You are through like the rapids, and now you are getting ready to go into unknown territory, and it's kind of exciting. I think you are prepared to make any changes necessary. I think you're listening to advice. You may even have a Scorpio in your presence that is offering advice on your way by, because the death card is, or that death character is Scorpio energy. So you may have to let something go. Something might end in order for you to pass through. And I think you're ready for it though. Like, I like it. There's no resistance that I feel to this. What's crossing it is this Five of Wands, and this is another conflict card. So it was in reverse, which is great because that means you have left the situation. The Five of Wands is that card of, everybody operating on their own agenda, right? Nobody's actually on the same page, so nothing is really getting done. They're just swinging things around, and it's just chaos. It's also a card of like drama, like among friend groups or among family situations. Or again, if you look at the characters' costumes, you've got somebody in a pig costume, somebody's just operating from greed, another person is in a skeleton costume. They might be operating from the past and, or just wanting to shake things up. And somebody could be worried about money. There's a pumpkin there, and in this suit, that's the coin suit. So somebody might not be able to want to spend the money. Everyone's just operating in different. Well, guess what? You have left that. Now, an interesting thing happened when I looked at this card is I think you might be the spider. You might be the piñata in this scenario where you may feel like everyone's trying to take a whack at you, and nobody's really operating from a plan. You might feel used. You might feel like you're just being bounced around and at everybody else's whim, and it can get very chaotic. It doesn't even have to be anything all that major. Again, we have minor arcana cards. We don't stay in conflict in the fives very long. We can't. It's not sustainable. But it's enough to drive you crazy. Right? If your phone is always going off and people always need something from you, and then the trash can gets tipped over, and then, the cat spills something. It's that chaos. Now, it can be personal drama, but you're out of that. Like, what's crossing this, what is allowing you passage to get out of your own head, or out of an argument is you have removed yourself from this and you are taking yourself to a different space. And I like it. Maybe you're going to travel. This is a card of travel. After a time of trying to get plans in order, could be. Sometimes plans can be really chaotic. But regardless, whether it's figurative or literal, it's you're moving on into a calmer space. And I like it. I think you're getting ready for something new on the other side. And I just noticed, I know my camera is not going to focus, but above that door, let me see. I don't think I can get it to focus. It's too busy focusing on everything else. Above that door is a tiny spider. And I said I thought you might be the spider here. You could be moving on to a place that feels more like you, like your own little cave. You could be retreating. I think it could be something you've not ever done before, though, or a space that feels like home. Like you're moving into a place where you belong and you're leaving all that drama behind. And I don't know why I've overtalked that, because that right there is very simple, but it is that quick moving energy. So I don't expect this could all be taking place in your own head. Even it doesn't necessarily have to be happening around you. The outcome here is just as sweet. It's a Two of Pentacles. Again, twos are the options. You have choice. So there are some options here. I like it because it's so focused on children, and the options I think feel good to you. Maybe, you have your choice of what to do. This is a new path that you have to pick which one. And for a while you can hang on to both. Like, you can evaluate your choices. And what's clarifying it is the Page of Cups, which is the sweetest card. These are things that make you happy, right? Where do you put your energy? Where do you put your friendship? Where do you put, that sweetness, that innocence, that thing that lightens your heart up? You have choice on who you hang out with. You do have options. And I like all the children in it. Like, it just feels lighthearted. It feels very creative. Maybe you've gone through a time of really fighting for something and trying to choose the right path. And now you find yourself leveling up at a place where you have choice and they feel good. Like you can pull from the inner child. It could just be an inner child reference, but it's much lighter. The coloring here, everything in tarot matters. All right. And it just depends on what catches your attention. But if you look at the coloring here, it's beautiful. The purples, the blacks, the oranges, all that is very beautiful, but it's dark. These colors are lighter, more cartoony. They just feel lighter. And again, all the children in it. So I love this. I think you're moving into a really great territory where you're going to feel freer and lighter and more playful. And the advice card is the Seven of Coins. I love this card. I like this card anyway. The Seven of Coins is normally in the Rider-Waite deck. It is a guy standing next to his crops that aren't ready yet for harvest, right? Just like these little buds. They're not flowers yet. In fact, you can even notice the ties on them, keeping them to the trellis. And it's a 7 on the march to a 10, right? In tarot, everything is cyclical, 2 to 10. So a 7 is not close. It's close, but it's not all the way to the end yet. And the farmer is patient. He understands that he has to pay attention to the crops, but he can't necessarily overwork the crops. Some of it is about the sunlight. Some of it is about the rain. And so his job is just to be vigilant. Just keep things going and allow them to grow. And so it requires patience to be diligent. We want things to happen now. We want our harvest now. So I like the 7. I think it's a card that embodies a lot of strength to remain diligent and not to rush things and not to allow frustration. But this reading, I think, is meant to be a reassurance to you that the work that you've put in, it's working. Things are growing. Your idea is starting to flourish. Is it there yet? No. Is everything blooming yet? No. But has the work that you've done so far, you should be beginning to be able to see that it's working. And that should hopefully give you reassurance that you've made good decisions, that you can give yourself a little freedom to be playful, that your ideas work, the things are moving along. So stay diligent, but know that you're on your way to something really great. The harvest is good and it's coming along nicely. So I really hope that you see some evidence of that in October. I think you should. Anyway, great reading. Love that reading. Okay, Capricorn. Your reading is a little tougher, so bear with me on this. I don't really have I don't have the details I wish I had for the reading. But the card that I pulled is the Seven of Swords in reverse. And this is an energy of something coming to light or being exposed, somebody getting caught, that kind of thing. Normally, the Seven upright is not the best energy of the deck. It is sometimes, in a glib way, people say it's the liar, cheater, thief card of the deck. It's somebody trying to get away with something, and there's a brazenness to this card that usually indicates that someone did something on purpose. Like this is an arrogance of some type. Now, it can be something as simple as lying to yourself, right? Sometimes we do that. We don't. In this case, it looks very chaotic. All those swords are ideas or thoughts or communications, and he's not holding them very well. He's wearing the fool hat. So there's a foolishness to the way he's dealing with information. And you can take that to mean whatever you want, right? The foolishness could be the lie, you know. It could be keeping something going, keeping some argument going, leaving two swords on the ground, choosing to ignore certain truths, or lying by omission. It's all of that stuff. It's jumbled, misleading truth or communication. So that's why it can be like at the thievery card, the lying card. When it's in reverse, though, it's this energy coming to light. So I don't know if you will find out that somebody was lying to you, or that you had the wrong information, or the way somebody was explaining something, or what they told you wasn't really true, but something is becoming clear. Like that jumbled mess is being seen for what it is. Like, and the easiest way, most of the time, this is somebody getting caught. Now, this, if you're lying to yourself about something, this is getting some clarity on that, seeing the error of how you were thinking about something, or it could be a lot of stuff like that, depending on how this hits with you. What's crossing that is the Strength card. So you could be dealing with a Leo energy. Something could be apparent about something a Leo said or the way they conveyed information. It doesn't have to be that you're dealing with a Leo, but I do see two potential Leo cards on the table. So the other really important thing about this card is very literal. It is a card of strength. If you find this out, it may require strength, right? Now, she is taming the beast there. The nature of this card is about restraint and grace. We all have the wild beast in us, right? The reactor. But we also have the ability to restrain ourselves. And you have two cards of restraint on the table. So I'm thinking that you may actually find something out or see something or know something, but you may not either be able to share it, or you may have to restrain yourself in some way. You may have to be strong. Maybe you found out, maybe you have to have a certain amount of strength to really see yourself objectively, see the way that you've been looking at a situation objectively. That takes a lot of strength. So I don't know how this will play out for you, but those are some of the potentials. The outcome here is the King of Wands in reverse. The King of Wands in reverse could be a Leo, Sagittarius, or Aries energy. It doesn't have to be masculine. It could be a female stepping into that masculine energy. But this particular card, when it's reversed, has a flavor of someone who is not very trustworthy to do the right thing for everybody. Usually the King of Wands upright is a leader, and he's passionate and he's fired up and he's wise and he knows how to take action. When this king is the King of Wands is in reverse, he either doesn't know which action to take, or he's not really being an effective leader. And that's kind of what I feel like right now. There may be someone in your presence, whereas if you find out a truth and you have to restrain yourself, there may be this character that in the outcome of this that doesn't think it's a big deal, isn't going to do anything about it. Because I have the Nine of Swords in reverse. That's not worrying. There's no worry here with this king energy. There's nothing to be done. Somebody's unbothered and they're not going to do anything about it. It could be you, right? Maybe you're going to choose not to worry about it and not do anything. It could be something like that. It may be because you don't have the right choices yet. If this is you, and it's almost like you can't worry about something until you know more information or until you have options. Or it could be more of a case where there's nothing to be done right now. That is kind of an implication right here. Now, the advice card is the Two of Swords. If you look at it, that is another card of restraint. Someone's hands being tied. So again, it might not be your place to do something. Or you are caught in a moment of indecision because you may not want to look at the truth of a situation. You may not want to read the fine print. You may not have the truth of a situation yet. So there may be nothing to be done yet. I feel yet because twos always imply that a decision will have to be made. But right now, there's no way to make that decision. So somebody's, I think it's to recognize that you may need to dig deep for the strength to either restrain yourself until you have more information or to get to the heart of a matter, get to the truth of a matter. And that may require some brutal honesty. That might require some brutal self-reflection, anything like that. So I think eventually there is going to be a decision to be made, but I just, in my head, it may not be your problem right this second to do anything about. So I hope that helps. That was a little bit difficult one. I don't know if I hit the mark on that or not. I hope so. Okay, Aquarius. You haven't, all the readings have been interesting, but this one is the first one that looks very much like a relationship spread to me, but please apply it where it goes. Take the energy of it, and even if you're not dealing with this in a relationship aspect, apply it to friendships or business or your work or anything like that. But the overall energy that came up for you is the death energy, and usually this is just representing the ending of something so that it can transition into something else. There's no real ending in tarot. In fact, the death card shows up, I've already done a reading on this, in the middle of the tarot spread. So it represents a transformation from one state to another. And it can, in a relationship read, this could be the ending of a relationship. And the reason I say that is because the card that's crossing it is the Nine of Pentacles, and this would typically be the card of independence. So this is kind of what it looks like, right? There's either an ending that brings about an independence for you in some way. This could be leaving a job even, right? And now you're working from home, or you started your own business. But very clearly, it could be the end of a relationship and now you're single, or it could be a transition out of a codependent type energy. And I don't throw that word around as much as other people do in today's world. Codependency, number one, not every relationship is codependent. I mean, we get in relationships so that we can depend on people. So I have my own opinions about that. But codependency from the standpoint of being in some kind of situation where you feel very dependent on something or someone else. A lot of people are in jobs they can't leave because they need the paycheck. And so in a weird way, that is a codependent situation, right? It's not what you want to be doing. It's what you have to, because you have to have that to exist. So there is a large ending here. Now, if there isn't some kind of ending and transformation, it could be that you're dealing with a Scorpio individual, because the death card is the Scorpio card, who either is single or is independent, or you are, but it looks like a recently, like this looks like in some ending or transition or transformation was a gift. I'm seeing that gift, that of the rose. So there is a new fresh beginning here. And again, that could be anything, but the cards really look like a relationship. And someone is sitting here very single, looking good, ready to go out, feeling really good, feeling like you are stable and you have everything you need. All right. Now, that could be an energy that you're dealing with, is some ending brought about a sense of independence. The outcome of this spread is the Temperance in reverse. Right away, this is a card of drinking too much, being out of balance, partying too much, that kind of thing. It's also Sagittarius energy that is probably not acting right now. So, but if it's not a person, then it's something being really out of balance on a big scale. The Temperance can often be seen as the high level Two of Cups. It's the card of alchemy and good chemistry and, being a match with someone, and it's level and balanced and everything flows. When it's in reverse, it's a card of being out of balance, like something is off kilter. So the clarifying card of that is the Ten of Swords in reverse. We saw the Ten of Swords early on in these readings, but what it is it represents a very, very painful ending of something. Okay. And the Ten of Swords is not pleasant. It can feel like betrayal. It can feel like a situation is totally done. There's nothing else to say. There's, been too much back and forth, too many painful things. I like to see it as a clarifier. And I also like to see it in reverse, because that means you're already on the other side of it. You might still be feeling the effects of it, but that's no longer happening. That ending is already over. It's just that it's still on the table, and it's clarifying why things are out of balance. There is a fairly recent ending that is still there. It's still being felt, but the actual pain part is over. It's just, those things take time. This honestly looks to me like the outcome is somebody, if it's a relationship reading, maybe not ready to jump into another relationship yet. They are not a healthy combination for the next relationship. Not yet. They're still processing. It's still being felt. There's still a lot of getting over something going on. And it could be even, sometimes at the end of something bad, we drink heavily, or we kind of go off the deep end a little bit. So there is an imbalance here as the outcome of this spread. I would watch for that. If you're dealing with someone who's recently out of a relationship, be aware that they may not be ready to jump right in. It doesn't mean you can't talk. It doesn't mean that you can't proceed. It's just very much proceed cautiously. Things aren't exactly level yet because of some ending. That's all. That's all this says. It's more of a warning than anything. The advice card is the Seven of Cups. This is a card of options and daydreaming and imagining what could be. So this is basically keeping your options open, but allowing for the possibility. This isn't having to choose yet. This is a great card of imagination and seeing what's out there, window shopping, trying to get a feel as you process some ending, or as someone else does. This is taking your time. This is enjoying seeing what else is there, what might fit you. This is going out and trying on a bunch of clothes, being really careful about pulling the trigger on anything because you may or may not want that. I don't think that this person, you or this person, is in a place to know just yet, because there was such a big transformation. And so it's pretty straightforward, but it really does look like love to me. I hope if it's not, that you can apply that to anything, that one phase ends and it's not the smartest move to jump right into something else until you get adjusted. One easy way this works out is my husband just retired, and he's really exploring what there is to do now that he is not working full time like he's done, for 40 years. So it's interesting. It doesn't have to be love, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody out there that's an Aquarius or has Aquarius in their chart is finding themselves dealing with someone who's recently single, or they are. Okay, and finally Pisces. The card I pulled for Pisces is the Four of Swords in reverse. Now, the Four of Swords upright is that card of mental rest. And I think I spoke at length about that in the Virgo reading. About sometimes mental rest doesn't mean not doing anything or sleeping all the time. It just means to give your mind a rest. And in this case, I like it that it's in reverse for the month of October, because that means you have had that mental rest and you are prepared to communicate or to do something now. And I like the imagery with the Four of Swords. Most of the time it runs the same. There's usually a person laying down, taking like a nap. And above him somewhere, hanging on the wall, is generally 3 swords. And that typically can represent something that was a disappointment in the past, and you've had to stop thinking about it for a little bit. You have to get your mind off of it. And the 4th sword is somewhere within reach. Now, swords represent communication and thoughts. So it's like giving yourself a minute before you have to respond, before you have to think of what to do next. It's kind of just taking your mind off of the problem or disappointment just for a minute and let your mind rest. Now, again, that doesn't have to be sleep, but it's often depicted that way just as a symbol. But it's really just letting go of thinking about something for a little bit and then giving yourself a rest. And then when it's time, you will sit up and you'll take that 4th sword, and you will either, enact a solution, or you will announce your intentions, or you'll communicate back to somebody. It's just taking that moment before you respond to something disappointing. So we're at this point now where we've had a rest in Pisces land here. And now we are about to take action or say something, right? Crossing that is the Emperor. Now, the Emperor is Aries and Taurus type energy, but it's leadership, it's that divine masculine energy, it's taking charge. This is the authority card. So it is taking charge. This is where the buck stops, and people tend to follow the Emperor. So this can mean a couple of things. This is after a break, after some kind of mental break, stepping into a leadership role in your own world somehow, right? He's got the sword. That imagery I was talking about, he's leading the charge with his sword. So it's after a disappointment, picking up with a renewed spirit and taking charge of your own life. Now, it could be that you've had interactions with an Emperor, someone external to you, this authority figure, or an Aries or a Taurus, some kind of older man in your life or something, and you had to think about it. You had to think through something after this interaction, and you are now ready to get up and respond. It could be either way, being the own Emperor in your own life, or taking a minute after that to respond now to this Emperor. The outcome here is the Strength card in reverse. This could be a Leo energy that's not acting right, or it's mainly just, sometimes I see this as not having enough nerve to do something, not being brave enough, but it can also just be a vitality card. Being tired, right? Not having, this is one of those few cards in the deck that's very literal. Not having the strength. And I say that because it's paired with the 9 of Wands in reverse. Nine of Wands is the wounded warrior energy. It's the person who is beat up and tired and exhausted, and they just keep going. They keep defending something. They keep on edge. They keep on guard. It's always being on guard. So something about the end of this spread is just being too tired to keep walls up, to keep something up, to stay vigilant all the time, to, it could be something where you're dropping a cause of some kind. It could be an ego thing where to maintain a certain level of protectiveness it's just dropping that. I feel like this is just dropping your guard because of just exhaustion. You may not have enough energy to fight for something. Maybe somebody wants you to join their cause, right? And you're exhausted. You're tired of fighting for something. So this spread ends with I know we just came out of a mental rest, but this is very physical in nature. These are fire energies. There's a lack of motivation, a lack of vitality to fight for something. And it's very interesting because I feel like that is heavy Mars energy of action and do. I feel like there's this need to just dissolve some of that intensity. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. So I would be ready for that. It also could be if you've been the Emperor energy and you've taken a break and now come out of like rethinking something, maybe that Emperor energy didn't work for you. Maybe that's the disappointment. Then coming out of it, your new thoughts about a topic are maybe you don't have to fight for something quite so hard. And in this case, it's a really great energy because this is more allowing. And as a water sign, Pisces are generally pretty good with allowing. They flow like the river. They don't worry about the rocks in the river. They flow around them, So this is like less intense and more allow. So I like this energy. I don't remember which sign it was. I don't remember which sign had I think Sagittarius maybe, had the minor arcana cards where nothing seemed too heavy to me. It's kind of like that. It's like if you've had your foot on the gas and then you take a break, you're reworking and rethinking how you do it, and you just don't have the energy to be so defensive, to be so gung-ho. It's okay. Like, relax. Like, that's what I feel is allow. Now, the advice card for Pisces is the Three of Cups, and this is a lovely card. Like, I really like this. It's a happy card. It's a celebratory card. It's getting together with friends for drinks. It's reconnecting with someone. Things that make you happy, and being around the people, no matter how few. It doesn't have to be a large group. Just being around people that bring you joy. It's a moment of celebration. It's a moment of joy. It's remembering to laugh, and I like it. It goes really well with this, and to infuse your life with a little bit of joy. That Mars energy can be really heavy hitting and intense. That pushing and working and defending, and takes a lot of energy. And this is more like, no, let's chill and go out. Let's really kick back and relax on a weekend. And that's what I mean by kind of minor energies. I don't see a whole lot here that is super heavy. I see it more of an easy get together, or to do something fun together, instead of it takes too much work to be on guard all the time. So I like it. I think it's a great reading. This one crow in the front looks like he's laughing. So I would say focus on, those moments where you're around people that make you laugh and having a good time. I think that could be really prominent for the month of October and helpful. But minor, regardless, and we'll take that, right? We'll take that in the big scheme of things. So I hope that helps. And thank you very much for hanging in. Bye.